Turn off the camera so that we can elaborate on this.
A few minutes later, the camera is turned on again, and Netanyahu begins to speak without quotation marks and without masks.
The Arabs now are preparing for a campaign or war of terror, and they think that this will break us. The main thing is, first and foremost, to hit them hard. Not just one hit, but many painful, so that the price will be unbearable. The price is not unbearable now. A total assault on the Palestinian Authority. To bring them to a state of panic, that everything is collapsing, fear that everything will collapse. This is what will bring them to.
But wait a minute. At that point, the whole world will say, "What are you occupiers? Aren't you afraid of the world,
Bibi?" No, the world will say nothing. The world will say that we are defending ourselves, especially now with America. I know what America is. America is a thing that can be easily moved in the right direction. Americans, will not bother us. Let's suppose that Americans will say something to us. So they say it. So what? 80% of the Americans support us. It's absurd. We have such great support there. Look, the other administration, that of Clinton, was pro-Palestinian in an extreme way. I was not afraid to maneuver there. I did not fear confrontation with Clinton. I was not afraid to clash with the UN. As it is, I am paying the price in the international arena. I might as well receive something of equal value in exchange. First of all, Oslo is a system or package of things.
The Oslo Accords are a disaster, but I thought that the Prime Minister did know and that he'd do everything so that, somehow, not to do critical things like handing over Hebron that...
Yes, I know that, and you know that, but the people need to know. What were the Oslo Accords? The Oslo Accords which the Knesset signed, I was asked before the elections. Will you act according to them? And I answered, yes, subject to reciprocity and limiting the withdrawals. But how do you limit the withdrawals? I interpret the accords in such a way that will enable me to stop this rush towards 67 borders, returning to armistice line. So, how do we do it?
The Oslo Accords stated at the time that Israel would gradually hand over territories to the Palestinians in 3 different stages, unless the territories in question had settlements or military sites. This is where Netanyahu found a loophole.
No one said what defined military sites. Defined military sites, I said, were security zones. As far as I'm concerned, the Jordan Valley is a defined military site. How can you tell? But then the question came up of just who would define what defined military sites were. I received a letter, to me and to Arafat, at the same time, which said that Israel, and only Israel, would be the one to define what those are, the location of those military sites, and their size. Now, they did not want to give me that letter, so I did not give the Hebron Agreement. I stopped the government meeting. I said, I'm not signing. Only when the letter came, in the course of the meeting, to me and to Arafat, only then did I sign the Hebron Agreement. Or rather, ratify it. It had already been signed. Why does this matter? Because at that moment I actually stopped the Oslo Accord.
And despite that, one of our own people, who knew it was a swindle and that we were going to commit suicide with the Oslo Accord, gives them, for example, Hebron. I never understood that.
Indeed, Hebron hurts. It hurts. It's the thing that hurts. One of the famous rabbis, whom I very much respect, a rabbi of Eretz Yisrael, he said to me, "What would your father say?" I went to my father. "Do you know a little about my father's position? He's not exactly a lily-white dove, as they say." So my father heard the question and said, "Tell the rabbi that your grandfather, Rabbi Natan Milikowski, was a smart Jew. Tell him it would be better to give 2% than to give 100%. And that's the choice here. You gave 2%, and in that way, you stopped the withdrawal, instead of 100%. The trick is not to be there and break down. The trick is to be there and pay a minimal price.
This conversation is just one part of a much larger narrative, a narrative that continues to evolve every day. Understanding the nuances of these discussions is essential in grasping the broader dynamics at play.